Hello everybody, my name is Tenelin, and this is a little bit less of an organized video that I normally make, but I wanted to go ahead and put together a video just talking about crafting melds. Now for those of you who aren't familiar with crafting melds are a lot different than gathering melds, as we don't know a lot of information about what we really need for future patches. This gear that we've gotten, the Everseeker gear that just came out in 7.1, will be the gear that you're going to need to be able to craft the new gear in 7.2, which is really one of the bigger patches. That's when the new combat crafted gear will come out, and it's one of the bigger patches if you are trying to take advantage of making some gil off of selling that to the high-end raiders. Because of that, we get into this weird situation where a lot of people would like to know ahead of time what melds they should have, but we don't really know what the stat requirements are going to be, and we've had some situations, especially back in Endwalker, where we thought we knew what was going to be coming out and thought we knew what the stat requirements were going to be, but we ended up having a miss, and a lot of people ended up having to change up their melds very quickly at the start of that patch because we weren't able to actually craft the gear. On top of that, the other thing that we really don't know anything about is cosmic exploration. We aren't really sure if it's going to be styled in the way that Ishgard's restoration was, where we have a little bit more difficult recipes like the expert recipes, and we don't really know how to plan around that. All we can do is really meld in as many stats as we can and kind of get a decent idea of what we'll need in the future. And honestly, when it comes to cosmic exploration, we don't even actually know when it's going to be coming out. They really haven't given us enough information to really get hype about it, but as soon as anything does drop, I will be putting videos out about it. It is definitely the thing I'm most excited for, just off the very limited information that we've been given. And I say all of that just as a warning. I really only recommend that you pentameld your gear right now if you are comfortable with remelding later. If you are like me though, I'm going to go ahead and show you off the melds that I'm using, which are actually just Teamcraft's high-end melds with a slight variation just on the tools. I'll go ahead with the right side. These are exactly the same as Teamcraft's high-end melds from 7.0. There were no changes on those. If you are looking to do the raid gear in 7.2, pentamelding the right side gear right now with this high-end meld set is the safest thing that you can do. We know with pretty high certainty that we're not going to be changing up the right side melds. The only things that we will potentially change up is the left side melds and the tools. The right side melds for any of the accessories are kind of in this weird space where we actually might be able to use them for the entirety of Dawn Trail. So if you are trying to get some progress before 7.2 comes out, that is what I would recommend 100% doing. For my left side gear, I did go ahead and pentameld everything, just because I do anticipate crafting a lot of stuff during 7.1. I've already crafted hundreds of the Alexandrian plates and the optical nanofiber, and I do predict myself making a couple more of the crafting and gathering sets for a lot of my friends. The only thing that really differs from my meld set compared to Teamcraft's is I don't like to meld the tools ahead of time. It's very easy to go back and just remeld any of your crafting gear just because you can share that with all of the different crafts. But when you look at the tools and how many more things you have to pentameld, I always avoid putting any melds into my tools. So the only thing I have is cutting 10s just to get 8 CP. Technically these give you 10 CP, but I had some cutting 10s sitting around already. 8 is the cap in each of these gears. That's what I would just recommend doing. You can add some craftsmanship or control. I believe Teamcraft only has control in their tools, if I'm remembering right. But for me, having this many jobs where you would have to then remeld all of the tools if we get to 7.2 and the melds are incorrect, it's a lot easier to just fix up the tools at that time. It's not a risk that I'm willing to take. With all that being said, I do have some macros that I do want to show off in case you do end up melding to match what I'm using. These are the 3 macros that I would recommend if you're using my melds and my stats here. Each of these is designed to just try to minimize the amount of time that you need to spend doing your macros. I personally just like shorter macros. I try to make them as quick as I can. As you can see here, this is the 7.0 35 durability 2 stars. So this is the original aesthetic tome items that were out in 7.0. This macro only uses the Ronique steak, as well the 7.1 35 durability 2-star items, just the 2 new items that we have, also only uses Ronique steak. You don't need any potion. And then for me, I go for high quality on both of these items and all of my pre-crafted materials. So I do this macro here, which requires no food or potion. I personally just hate having to keep uptime on my food and potions when I'm trying to craft a bunch of things. So that's where I design my macros around. So this is for all of the Everseeker's gear. It does use all of the high quality materials, and it's only 18 steps, 2 buttons. A link to both my melds and my macros will be in the description, and they'll also be posted on my Discord. If you do have any questions about crafting in general, melds or macros and things like that, I do have a Discord server that I've started up where I do encourage you post there if you want to get a little bit more information. I always do my best to answer in the comments as well if you have any questions, and I'm just trying to make sure to help as many people out as I can. I know crafting especially is a little bit more confusing and it's harder to get into, so I do understand that a lot of people don't know what to do. So in this type of patch, again, my biggest recommendation, just wait, take your time. There's nothing in 7.1 that truly requires you having good gear to be able to do any crafts that are in high demand. There was nothing added in the patch other than this new crafting and gathering gear, which I do recommend you slowly build up to craft, but make sure you check out my other video where I show you how you can craft this gear, and you can do it with the 690 gear. Check out my spirit bonding guide for your gatherers, slowly earn up a bunch of materia if you're looking to gather in the future, and I would just recommend getting as much crafter materia built up as you can while we wait for 7.2. I will do my best to try to put out videos as quickly as I can once we get a little bit closer to 7.2 and into the release of 7.2, in case you are just waiting to see what stats we actually need. If you aren't really sure what each of the patches is going to have in Dawntrail, especially when it comes to crafting and gathering and the raid gear and things like that, I did make a detailed video just outlining the general idea of what we do know is coming in Dawntrail, and that kind of lays out all of the gear steps and when we are getting script gear, the raid gear, and the crafting and gathering gear, just to give you a better idea of how to make a plan for Dawntrail. So be sure to check that out. I hope this video was helpful. It is a little bit different style than I normally make, but I hope this answered at least a couple questions for some people that are watching, and it was a little helpful in some way, shape, or form. I thank you very much for watching, and have a great one. Oh, and as I was making this video, I just hit 3,000 subscribers, so thank you all very much. I was actually looking to try to hit that by the end of the year, and we are 6 weeks ahead of that, so I really appreciate it.